When I saw the trailer for Nightreign, heard the announcement of a Fromsoftware made roguelike, to me that sounds like the sickest game in the world. It's gonna be awesome. I'm hyped as hell, so naturally I go online. I want to see other people who are excited, just kind of see the general reaction, further increase my hype with like-minded people. And the reactions I saw, they kind of perplexed me. The only conclusion I've been able to come to is from software fans, they must just hate fun. Now, first of all, the games that we are in love with as from software fans, they sound awful on paper. Nothing about them sounds fun. Basic premise is that you just ram your head against a wall for hours on end. Every time you die doing that, you then have to do a long walk back, where you just sit and you think about the consequences of your actions. Very masochistic. So, yeah, we're not helping our case when it comes to liking fun. But when From Software announces a game that is just straight fun, no fluff, no filler, it's just straight raw gameplay, co-op focused Elden Ring? Are you kidding me? What's not fun about that? It's just a good time, it's low commitment, you're gonna hop on with the homies, do a quick 30-40 minute raid. I just kind of feel like screaming into the void about this a little bit, because I don't have anyone in my real life who gives a shit, and I got plenty of invasion footage, and something to talk about, so it seemed like a good opportunity to make a video. I could just loop the Nightreign trailer, that same 2-minute trailer that we've probably all seen several dozen times now, because every other video I've seen where someone's talking about Nightreign, they just put that trailer on loop and talk over it, so enjoy some invasion footage. I feel like it's only right to preface all this with the fact that I am a shameless From Software glazer. The majority of my gaming over the last couple of years has just been From Software games, a sickening amount of hours in this series. But I have to imagine that most of you are probably the same. Even people who are complaining about this game are the same. They've put out nothing but bangers for the last, I don't know, fucking 16 years or some shit. And all of a sudden, because they're doing a game that's slightly different, everyone's full on dooming about it. And when I'm just talking about reactions I've seen, it's been Reddit, unfortunately, spends some time on that website. A lot of mixed reactions on there. YouTube comments, Twitch chats, just anywhere where people would generally be discussing From Software stuff. Even some of the content creators I watch have been pretty negative about this. Just saying that things are going to be bad about the game and already dismissing the game as bad when we haven't even seen any actual gameplay from it, aside from the trailer. Best we have is an interview and an IGN article where someone's talking about the time they got to play the game. People just seem to be jumping to these wild conclusions for no reason, like this is the new direction From Software is going to go in. They're not going to make serious story-driven games anymore. No more RPGs. They're going to make battle royales, battle passes. People are saying this game's going to have microtransactions when there's been no mention of that, and they even said they weren't going to put microtransactions in it in an interview. So I don't get why people just want to say something so blatantly false, and then other people will see that, start spreading that around. Game's getting called a cash grab because it's an asset flip. You want to call a From Software game an asset flip all of a sudden? Make that a bad thing? They've reused so many assets over the years. It's not a bad thing. It saves development time, and it's why we're able to get this game in such a short time span. And From Software has stated that this is going to be between their last major release, Shadow of the Erdtree, Elden Ring, whatever you want to consider that, and their next major mainline series, whether that be another Dark Souls game, another Elden Ring game, Dark Souls in space, whatever they decide to make next. So no development time is being taken away from that. They've become a big enough company that can work on multiple projects at once. Miyazaki's making his next masterpiece, and this will just be a fun little aside that we get in the meantime. This game isn't even going to be full priced. It's going to be priced at about DLC price, so figure $40, $30. The alternative is that we just get nothing. Want to go back to the Great Hollowing, time between Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, where we gotta wait like 7 years. Some people do have some valid complaints about this game, and maybe not even necessarily complaints, just the fact that it'll be missing certain elements from Software games that they typically like, like build making, build variety, and to that I say, I've done hundreds of invasions, so I see what the average player's build looks like. And if we're being honest, we maybe have 3 builds that the general community uses. You got Radahn wearing armor with a bubble shield, and he's using Rivers of Blood, the Moon Veil, and or the Bloodhound Fang. You got a mage wearing the Ronnie cap, and then the other option is if you're really into PvP, you got the waifu head, no helmet, spiral shield on your back, and scaled armor, and you use like a Shamshir or a Great Katana. That's it. I think having 8 predetermined builds would be way more build variety than you uncreative motherfuckers could come up with. Oh, you also have the Guts build. How could I forget about that? You get bonus points too if you gave up on your Guts cosplay and you just switch to a Moonveil or Rivers of Blood. Alright, calling you uncreatives may be a little harsh. I understand it. I like to build make too. I'm not going to pretend like I'm making the most unique builds in the world. You know, nothing earth-shattering. With it being pre-built builds, I think they'll be able to fine-tune the difficulty a little bit more. Instead of having to balance around hundreds of different weapons, you know, dozens of different build possibilities, it's just going to be narrowed down a little bit more. So I think they'll be able to fine-tune that experience a little bit, make the bosses more balanced. Another complaint I've seen people make about Nightreign is that there won't be any PvP, which is valid. I understand that. I'm a big PvP enjoyer in these games, and there's actually a select few people who do play these games, you know, exclusively for the PvP. Maybe not exclusively, but that's their primary focus. You know, I've certainly done more PvP in Elden Ring at this point than I have PvE, but it's really not the reason I fell in love with these games. You know, the PvE brought me in initially, and so I understand why people are disappointed about there being a lack of PvP. I don't understand how they would implement PvP in this, or invasions. You know, I'd have to imagine it'd be kind of weird to balance with it being predetermined builds, and the way the system is going to work in the game is, as you're playing your round, you're going into there, you're getting new weapons, you know, new grades of weapons, and it's kind of resetting every time, so what are you going into the game with? If you're invading, for example. The way the invasion system currently stands in Elden Ring is it's a way to balance the co-op. It's your punishment for having extra players with you. It brings that invader in for the extra challenge to kind of make it more fair. You know, that's the balancing act of it. This game is being designed with co-op in mind. It kind of removes the need for that invader to be in the world. Don't get me wrong though, I would love if this game had invasions or some kind of PvP mode. You know, a battle royale mode or an extraction mode. I would unironically love that. So who knows, maybe we'll get some kind of PvP implemented down the road. But for now there won't be any PvP, and I could live with that for one title. You know, Sekiro didn't have any PvP. It didn't mean that PvP was removed entirely. You know, I see some people saying, oh no, you have to remove PvP from this game. It's just gone for good. I expect that there will be invasions in whatever the next mainline title is. I've even seen some people saying, oh great, now that Nightreign's out, it's going to further shrink the Elden Ring invasion pool. All the casuals are going to go over there. There's going to be no one to invade. I hate to break it to you, bro. People weren't going to be playing Elden Ring forever anyways. It's a single player game first and foremost. People will play it, they'll finish the game, and they'll move on. There won't be people to invade forever regardless. That's how it goes. Another thing that people seem to be upset about is that it's different. It's just a different game for Fromsoftware to make. And I say let them try something different. They've essentially made the same game like 6 times in a row now. Not that I have a problem with that. They always add enough new mechanics, new features to make it interesting. But Fromsoftware players, they'll shit on Call of Duty fans for buying basically the same game every year. And now that Fromsoftware is trying something truly different, they're going, oh no, don't change. Just keep making the same game, please. Some people say Fromsoftware games have ruined other games for them. And I guess they just mean they literally cannot play another genre of game. And even still, this is just ever so slightly different. The gameplay is going to play the same as Elden Ring, more or less. It's just a different format. I don't see why anyone who likes Elden Ring wouldn't like this. They must just hate fun. Can't explain it any other way. Another complaint I've seen levied about Nightreign is the lore. How is this going to fit into the lore of the Elden Ring universe? It needs to fit my personal schizophrenic headcanon for this game. It's just all gonna fall apart with Nightreign. It doesn't make any sense. It's just non-canon. That's it. It's non-canon. You go into the game, you kill some cool stuff, you have fun. That's the best part about these games anyways. No one said you should get into Dark Souls for the lore. If anyone did, they lied. Why would you do that? You gotta play this super awesome game where you go around, you pick up various items, and you read the item description, and then you can kind of piece together a story. And then you can go and watch a 45-minute YouTube video essay of someone else's personal headcanon. And now you have an understanding of the story. No, that's not why anyone got into these games. It's for the gameplay. At the end of the day, what 99% of people say is the most important part to a video game is the gameplay. It's the reason why this game series became so popular and so notorious in the first place. It's for its punishing but rewarding gameplay. You know, it's what keeps people coming back to the series. The aesthetic of these games absolutely phenomenal, and you're still getting all of that with this. You're just getting it into a more compact version. You know, if Elden Ring was like taking a pill, Nightreign's gonna be like crushing up and storing it. It's gonna be that good old Fromsoftware dopamine right to the brain without any of the fluff. They're not wasting any resources writing a story, just pure black tar, unfiltered, right to your veins. It's gonna be good stuff. If you ever played co-op in a Fromsoftware game, you gotta be honest with yourself. It's not the same as doing it solo. The boss AI just seems to totally break when there's multiple targets to focus on. You know, it kind of boils down to the boss just targets one person at a time, the other person can freely wail on the boss. It just kind of flip-flops the aggro back and forth. I tried doing a little bit of co-op with my friend in Elden Ring. I've never been much of a co-op guy in these games. I just kind of prefer to run it solo. And we were fighting Rilana, you know, base game Rilana, you know, Witch Lady, and Rhea Lucaria. And we just chain staggered her basically, just the two of us. And I remember near the end of the fight, when she summons her dragon, my friend was like, whoa, what the fuck, what is that? Dragon? I was like, oh yeah, one of her main mechanics in Phase 2 is that she summons things, and we just blew through this boss so fast that we were fully missing mechanics. And we were both appropriately leveled, you know, we didn't have any crazy builds. It was only 2 players as well, so I could only imagine how unbalanced the co-op becomes once you have 3 players. And there's probably a lot you just miss out on. Some of the more finer details with the boss. So it'll be fun to see what they can do when they have co-op in mind when they're actually designing a boss. Because when you fight these bosses in Elden Ring, Dark Souls, etc., it's very clear it only had one player in mind. And granted, some of the Elden Ring bosses, they have these big AoEs that are clearly meant to hit multiple players at once. But it's not going to be the same as what they're doing in Nightreign, I have to imagine, where it's going to be made from the ground up with co-op in mind. You know, probably have a lot of big sweeping attacks that can hit multiple people at once. You know, like the 3-headed wolf that we saw in the trailer. You know, and it's also going to be able to split up into multiple wolves at the same time, so each player is kind of fighting their own. It'll be exciting. It'll be cool to see what they do. It'll also be cool to see all the different mechanics they're testing out on this. You know, just from the trailer alone, we've seen some things that haven't made their way into a Fromsoftware game yet. You know, like the vaulting, the Fortnite battle bus, Eagle. It'll be cool to have them try these things out in the non-mainline title, see what works, maybe kind of perfect them to put them into the next game. Hoping they can use this opportunity to refine their multiplayer experience as well. You know, maybe work on the netcode, that would be nice. Would certainly make PvP more enjoyable if they could do that. You know, and just work on making it a more seamless, smooth experience, because it feels very dated at this point. You know, I understand what they were going for in the Dark Souls games. Miyazaki mentioned liking this, you know, someone who's stuck on the side of the road, you know, stranger comes, helps you change your tire, and you go your separate ways. Just a nice experience. That's how the co-op in this game was. Dark Souls and Elden Ring were designed. But it feels a little antiquated at this point, especially when they have marketed these games to be something you can co-op together. So, you know, maybe that system had its time in Elden Ring. Maybe that system had its time in Dark Souls, and now it's time to move on to the next thing. Just make a modern game lobby. You know, let me invite my friend from Steam, from PlayStation Network, and just get into a game together. Make it simple. Something that I think will be great about this game, being able to get that Elden Ring and Dark Souls gameplay in just a more compact format. This will be sort of like a boss rush, something that people have been asking for a while. Certainly something I would enjoy, so I would like to refight bosses, but having to do a whole new playthrough just to fight certain bosses is kind of a pain. So being able to get it in a more compact format like this would be very enjoyable. You know, 30 to 40 minute rounds. I think it'll be a more digestible way for some people to play this game too. Because to be honest, I feel like you need a lot of time if you really want to get into a Dark Souls game or an Elden Ring game. If you only have like an hour or two to play a game after work, it doesn't always feel great to just throw yourself against the boss for that time. And when you get to the end of your session, you didn't finish the boss, and it just kind of feels like you didn't make any progress. Being able to do a full round of this in 30 to 40 minutes is going to be perfect for a lot of people. To me, it certainly sounds enjoyable. Anyways, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you for listening to me rant and rave. I've been Captain Cope. If you're subscribed to me, this notification or seeing this video in your feed was probably a jump scare. I haven't uploaded in God knows how long. Hopefully I'll get into that beta test next month and I can try the game out for myself. Who knows, maybe I'll be eating my words, but either way, I'm really excited. I'm sure it's going to be great. Fromsoftware hasn't let me down yet. Knock on wood. Take care. Have a good one.